Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. I am just so excited to talk about whether I think Medium is good for beginners in 2024. Not least because I've actually got the CEO of Medium himself, Tony Stubblebine, right on here with me, who's going to be giving us, the inside scoop on everything Medium in 2024. I feel like you need no introduction, but go ahead and introduce yourself anyway.
Yeah, hi Zuli. Happy to be here. I'm really happy and excited for 2024. Who am I? I am the second CEO of Medium. The first CEO sort of retired from the job and he's still my boss. He's the chairman of the board. But I took over from him July of 2022. So this is a year and a half basically I've been on the job. But before that, I had been very, very, very active on Medium, where I'd been a writer from the day Medium launched, and then later a partner, and then later a very big publishing partner. I think when I was hired, one of my qualifications was almost 2% of Medium traffic was going through publications that I was running. So I think that there was some basic sense that I must understand what's going on
Wow.
Medium if the things I was doing were working so well. Um, and I took this job because I love the community, because I love writing. I mean, I think I've published 700 things on Medium, but just personal stuff. And more than the qualifications of like having so much traffic running through my publication, it was really just this is the place where I always wanted to write. And it's a big honor to get to run the company now and kind of lead it into the new era.
This is what makes you such a great perspective for answering the overarching question of the video, which is should new writers consider Medium as a platform this year? But also for existing writers and anybody writing online, as you've been on Medium for so long, you've been on the internet for so long, and you're running what I
Mhm.
consider to be the best platform for writing online. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. I've got like the basic question and a couple other things I want to cover. I know Medium has released some new features in 2023. I'm sure there's lots of stuff to come up in 2024. And I
Yeah.
just want to start with whether you think, in your as unbiased as possible opinion, whether you think Medium is worth it for new writers to begin and for existing writers to continue writing.
Yeah. Of course I'm gonna say yes, but I mean it's got a really clear-cut answer. Where can you go to write where you don't have to be a marketer in
Mhm.
order to get read, right? Like in if you want to talk about other alternatives like WordPress. Well, where are you going to get your readers from?
Mhm.
You want to talk about starting a newsletter. Well, where are you going to get your subscribers from? You're always having to go to one of the platforms to find readers. And Medium does, I think, a very good job of trying to find readers based on the quality of individual articles
Mhm.
rather than on the pedigree of the author themselves or how much work that they've done. So if you consider like day one, my first piece, where am I going to get readers for that? I mean, what are your options? Post to your Facebook and have your friends and family. I mean, you should. I mean, that is actually where I still post to my Facebook when I write. Um, uh, but on Medium, you can go to one of the publications. I think 45% of what gets read on Medium goes through one of our community publications. I mean, there's hundreds of these, and they'll help set the bar for you. Like, what is good writing, which is also something that you don't necessarily know when you're a beginner. And then they'll help bring you your first audience. I think that's very special and unique. You don't have, there's no other blogging platform that does that as well as we do.
Yeah. For context, if you're new to Medium, a Medium publication, it's hard to define, but in my head, I kind of think of it a bit like an online magazine. So
Sure.
I run Better Marketing publication with two other co-editors. So we accept articles published from, I don't know, hundreds, thousands, maybe even of other writers on Medium who say, hey, I want to get this article published to an audience of people who are interested in marketing. can I publish it with you? And the three of us sit down, we go through these submissions. And if it meets our bar, which I flatter myself is pretty high, then we publish it. We send it out to the followers of Better Marketing. And we've got a couple other distribution levers as editors, like our newsletter,
Yep.
other places to make sure that this quality writing gets read. So I love the Medium publication feature because I feel like it's just such a great channel for writers to make sure that their readers are finding quality stuff and for editors of publications to make sure that their audience is getting quality writing as well. So just like a nice two-way street.
Yeah, it absolutely works. And it works for high-end experienced authors, and it works for new authors. And kind of surprisingly, it was it was very active when I got here, and I had been an active
Mm,
publication editor, but the company hadn't invested a lot in it. And so that's like one of the number one things that I've done while I've been here is just like invest in the publications and invest in letting the publications know, hey, we believe in you. Like this,
mhm.
you're a big part of the community. I think one of the first emails I ever sent to anyone in the community was all the active publications in 2022 got just a "Hey, we love you" email from me a couple days after I joined, actually.
I've been trying to help new writers sort of grow on Medium and use Medium to its fullest
Yeah,
advantage for a while, and I've always been super pro publication. Yeah, because it's like if you're a beginner online, let alone on Medium, and you want to get your writing read by people, yeah, you have to go viral on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and then you can
right.
leverage that audience to get readers for your newsletter or your blog. Or you have to know a lot about SEO, which as a beginner writer, I can tell you I knew nothing about SEO. And I assume that's the case for a lot of beginner writers who just want to build a habit, maybe earn some money with their writing. And that's what I loved about Medium is with no SEO knowledge, you do not have to bring your own audience to the platform. There's an audience of engaged readers on Medium
Yep.
already pre-segmented by interest. So if I published in Better Marketing as a writer, I knew that that article was going to reach people who were interested in marketing because they were following the Better Marketing publication. And I could do that as a complete beginner on the platform. And that's what I think is one of Medium's biggest strengths is the publication. So I was thrilled that that also became an official party line.
And also, how wild is it that the internet became a place where sort of the voices we got heard were only people that wanted to master those skills?
Mm,
A lot of the people that have the most interesting things to say don't have time. Like this not like kind of by definition, they spend all their time living an interesting life. And that's what gives them something interesting to say. And they
mhm.
didn't have any time to learn what SEO is. It's like I th probably a lot of our best writers couldn't tell you what SEO even stands for. And I love that. I love that Medium is sort of counter narrative to the rest of the internet
Yeah.
uh, because we think the internet left out a lot of voices that are important to hear from, and we've tried to build a system where those voices can be heard again.
I was really keen to hear Tony's explanation of a feature on Medium called the Medium Boost, which is basically when a human person on Medium, either employed by Medium or who runs a Medium publication like I do, has the ability to handpick stories and say, I think this deserves to get seen by more people.
I want to quickly talk about the second thing that I love about Medium, specifically for beginner writers
Oh,
on the internet, and that is the boost mechanism, which I think is new as of like end of 2022. Is that right-ish?
uh,
I know you announced it in February 2023, but I was looking back at some of my older stuff and I saw that I got the little notification on one of my, I think
yeah,
December
it's
2022.
officially launched in 2023. Um, the word boost showed up for the first time in March of 2022 when I was applying for the job. I wrote a memo. This is a writing company, so the application process was thousands of words long, and uh, and I went back and I looked at the first memo, and I'm saying this partly because I think sometimes people wonder, is there a plan?
Mm,
And because it's like we did one thing and then this other thing. And I was like, well, actually, it took a while to get to each of the major things that we launched last year, but they were all part of that first memo that I had sent as part of the application. And that memo did include the word boost.
That's so amazing
That
to me.
and so the point of the boost is to move out of a world where algorithms decide what quality is. I mean, again, this is counter narrative to the rest of the internet. But you'll hear us say a lot of times we believe in the value of human stories because human stories have more than just information, they have wisdom, right? Like, why is this information important to another human being? You have to be a human yourself, right? And our observation is that on the rest of the internet, a lot of who you're writing for is the computer. You're writing for the algorithm, you're writing for virality, you're writing for SEO. And we want to get out of that system. And we wanted people writing for humans, and we wanted our recommendation systems to have human subject matter experts in the loop
Hmm.
who'd be able to say to a beginner reader, like, hey, this article is important to you. And I know this because I live and breathe this topic. And I and so as you say, February 2023, we launched this program officially where it's nominators throughout the system, more and more, but we have, I think, 110 now, but our aim is to have 1,000 as soon as we can.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, go and hunt for the best of the platform, and they mark them as, hey, we want to boost this, and that
Hmm.
starts a process which then goes internally, gets double checked by our internal curators, and then only then does it go to the algorithm, and the algorithm says, well, okay, I can play matchmaker, I know this is high quality, and I can play matchmaker to the people who care about this topic. So that's been a big change and a really effective change. Although it's so new and so different than what's on the rest of the internet, I think people often question, like, well, are these? I mean, the critiques always use words like gatekeepers. I think there is something a little bit, you know, you're being judged by humans. But if you're writing for humans, then by definition, you're going to be judged by humans. And I think that is overall healthier. So what we found, because I think just to like, sometimes it's helpful to justify, are we doing a good job, right?
Hmm.
Like, to be honest, we look at the top performing articles now versus before, and we just use our editorial sense, and it's like night and day.
Really?
These are
Wow.
much, much, much better, but we also have it numerically where in our metrics, a boosted article converts a subscriber twice as well as a non-boosted article.
That's amazing.
And I mean, that's to us is crystal clear, this lesson that we had to learn as a subscription business, which is there's this huge difference between what you can get someone to read and what someone will be happy to have paid to read. That's
Yeah.
our job, is to put stories in front of readers that they will be happy to have paid to read. And to take this back to the beginner author, and this is something I want, this is something I talked to the team about before I came to talk to you, Zuli, is Medium boost or bust? And I think that's such a gross simplification. It's not boost or bust because no writer can write boost worthy stuff every day, right? But if you write regularly, I
Hmm.
think you develop an antenna for, all right, I've built up kind of a knowledge of a certain space, and now I'm working on a banger. And I just love when I write on Medium. Sometimes most of what I write is just the exercising the muscle of writing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I know, like, oh, this is good. This is important. People are going to like this. And so now I know there's a mechanism on Medium where those stories can be noticed. And the word boost is literal.
Hmm.
When they're noticed, they get boosted to more readers.
I feel like I've got two perspectives on this as a reader and again, or sorry, as a writer. No, three perspectives: reader, writer, and then editor.
Editor.
So as a reader, yeah, I guess I only see what my feed shows me, but I know just anecdotally when I get my little emails from Medium every morning, I've got more stuff to click on because yeah, a lot of what I used to see was the kind of thing that I saw all over the internet that was popular. How to make more money, how to get people to fall in love with you, how to get fit, like the same kind of stuff over and
Yeah,
over again that you've seen 1,000 times before. Whereas now I get to see, yeah, like more human stories, really interesting articles. There's one that I always think about that, again, getting into the editing perspective now. This author, Magda, her last name escapes me, submitted this to Better Marketing in September. It was stories of marketing based on porn. Like she had been a stripper and she talked about what she learned about that for marketing.
sure.
I'd never seen that perspective before. That was so cool to me to
Right.
get to read about that and then not only read about it, but say to the curators on Medium, like, hey, I think this should get seen by more people. This is a really cool story. And it should, the writer deserves to get compensated, and the readers of Medium deserve to get the chance to click on this article. And as an editor, I've had so many opportunities to find articles that, oh, yeah, the title was just maybe not quite clickable, or it wasn't in perfect formatting, or the person just didn't have any followers and hadn't used tags appropriately. And as an editor, I was able to go through and say, hey, this is awesome. Make some small changes. I'm going to nominate this, and you're gonna see how many people are gonna
Hmm.
love reading this.
Hmm.
And as a writer, yeah, before the boost came along, I was finding myself kind of falling into probably the how to make money bracket more than anything, which is fine. I like to write about it, but I didn't want to write about it all the time.
Right.
That was what the algorithm rewarded me for. So that's all I was producing in order to like grow my audience. Whereas now I get to write, yeah, stuff that I'm interested in, stuff that I care about. I don't have to write as
Yeah.
often. I get to focus on things that matter to me, that I know I'm the only person with this unique perspective, and I get to get rewarded for
Right.
that, hopefully.
You you would you touched on something really interesting there, the way that the boost changed your behavior as an editor. Because now you have an incentive to go work with authors that have stories that are like on the cusp. Because
Yes.
you're now in partnership with them
Hmm.
and you can see, oh, we can make these changes and uh it'll do really well. I love that. I think that's one of the reasons the boost has been so successful, is that it's good for the readers, it's good for the writers, but it's also really good for the editors.
Yeah, it's just such a huge testament to what I love about Medium, which is obviously in a perfect ideal world, the quality of your writing would be the only factor in your success or failure as a writer. I don't think that's true anywhere, but Medium is the place where it's truest. You can leverage the tools
Hmm.
that already exist,
Hmm.
like publications, tags. You know that if you get into a publication and you know that that editor has the ability to nominate your articles, which there's a list, I'll link it in the video description, you know that you have a good chance of somebody judging your work and saying, hey, this is good, this deserves to fly.
I think I think we're so trained to think these unhealthy thoughts about how do I game the system, right? Like I'm in on a little bit of a anti-engagement ring. Maybe we can talk about these Facebook groups that are like clap for clap, right? It's like it's it's not just that that's not doesn't really work and isn't effective. I it's unhealthy. Like, is that why you got into writing in the first place? Right? Like, I don't want to build an ecosystem where we reward humans for acting like robots.
Mm.
I want to build an ecosystem and where we reward humans for acting like humans and being human and caring about other humans. And so I'm always like, if anyone is ever talking to me about, oh, how are my earnings, or, how can I do better? I just only want to have that conversation about what is quality, not uh not what did they say in the Facebook groups? Authentic engagement only, right? Like there's
Oh
nothing
man, that's so
authentic about
dark.
it.
Yeah, I came to those Facebook groups on my beginner when I was first starting on
Hmm.
Medium. Because you got paid back then. The earning model was, I think, based on how many claps you got. It was more complicated
Hmm.
than that, but that was one of the benchmarks. And it made sense to me because that's how Instagram worked. On Instagram, when you get X number of likes within a certain amount of time, that signals to the algorithm that it's
Mhm.
good, and then it's more likely to go viral. So this made a lot of sense to me because I had been pre-trained by Instagram on
Mhm.
how to go
Mhm.
viral, and I had been pre-trained to think of viral as like good. Viral is good. And it took a while to decondition myself and kind of remember, like, I've always wanted to be a writer. You can see behind me how many books I've got on my shelf. I did not want to go viral. I wanted to write good stuff, and I wanted to
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
time to explore ideas and think about things in a new way and reach people who might have not thought of things in that way before. And that was, I mean, it's nice when things go viral because it's
Right.
nice to get that external validation, but it's also nice that Medium, yeah, is like I said, for me, the closest place where it's when I write something that I know is good, I don't have to rush to the Facebook groups and post and say, like, here, everybody pile in on clap on this right now.
Right.
Because I trust
Right.
that the Medium systems are going to get that article to the people who are interested in it, and they will tell
Yeah.
me if it's good or not.
Right, exactly. Right. I think, the it's I would definitely want to encourage people to look at it that way. Like Medium is a system where we care about your well-being as a writer.
Mm,
And and if you ever find yourself in these things that aren't like don't feel authentic, don't that feel like gaming the system. And every new writer is going to find that, right? Like
mhm.
it's impossible not to run into those things. Then absolutely that's losing the thread. Like they're kind of missing the boat. I think there's a thing I like about your career too is that the better you write, the more opportunities you get everywhere, not
Mhm.
just out on Medium, but outside of Medium. And like Clap for Clap doesn't impress uh, someone who's going to hire you for a job, right?
Yeah.
And like there's like this sort of in programming we talk about local maxima and where you can be climbing this hill and thinking, oh, I got to optimize my way to the top of this hill, and you don't realize there's this giant mountain to the right of the hill, right? So
Yeah.
you're doing everything you can to like crest this tiny hill, and I think all of that kind of engagement ring stuff is the definition of local maxima. There's all of these much healthier, more fun, more lucrative opportunities right next door, but you have to really embrace or have the courage to just be focused on writing your best stuff.
One of the things I wanted to talk to Tony about was something that's been very top of mind for me lately, and that is the topic of AI. I asked Tony, how does Medium plan to deal with AI writing, and how does Medium plan to deal with AI companies scraping human writing off Medium?
Yeah. You've mentioned a few times this idea that Medium is for human writers, for human stories. So I wanted to touch on the topic, I don't know how to say year in French, de jour, I guess, for of last year, which
Yeah,
was AI. So Medium's taken a counter narrative approach, I guess, to
yeah.
what other people are doing, which is you've said that you don't reward AI writing on the platform. And I would really like to hear kind of your existing stance and where you want to take AI writing and AI writers on Medium in the future.
I mean, this is what you can't. I mean, I don't think people can fathom how difficult my board meetings were for the last year. But I mean, the way to understand like sort of like a board is like those are the people that are also doing investments. And so every pitch that they had been getting outside of Medium was for an AI company. And every board meeting, they'd come to me and they say, Tony, what's your AI strategy? And it's like, well, our AI strategy is to be human. And I I I was really pleased at Medium Day to have a real connection to our author community and how validating they felt that was. I was like, oh, thank God there is a community that wants that. And it's almost like AI has ended up segmenting the market and now this is so sad. Like now there's a market segment, human.
It is
And
sad, but it's yeah, like I I don't know obviously for sure, but as a reader on the internet, I have a sense for when something is written by AI
yeah,
versus not AI. And I do wonder if we're gonna end up at a place that it's like paywalled human, free AI. That's kind of
Yeah.
where it feels like we're going for me, where I have started paying for newsletters now because I really like the personality that I get when like Rusty Foster does Today in Tabs, Ryan Broderick does
Yeah.
Garbage Day. Those are two that I subscribe to, where I get something that's full of personality. A real human wrote it because they're sharing their personal
Yes.
experiences. And then when I want to know, like, I don't know, what's a how to take a screenshot on my Mac, I'm okay with that being AI because
Yeah.
that's all it's going to be. But
Sure.
it's yeah, I have started paying more for subscriptions on like the New York Times and the Atlantic because I want human
Yeah.
writing and I know that that's where I'm going to get it. Whereas stuff online, I can tell so much of it is generated procedurally now.
I do think that this is um the bottom is going to fall out of the market of writers,
Mm,
and it doesn't bother me, although it should be worrying to a lot of writers. It's like that sort of content mill world was humans writing for machines, and now it's going to be machines writing for machines. It's
yeah.
like, you know, um, how do we uh, how do we get can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
my
No, you're good.
Okay. I touched my ears and then I got all these beeps. Um, the it's like AI writing to game Google's SEO algorithms, right? It's like, okay, great. But uh the best writing is still going to be done by humans because it's not about the facts. It's about the nuance and the emotion, right? It's like it's even like how we learn for thousands of years is through story.
Yeah.
And because stories connect, they don't just carry a set of facts, they carry an emotion that is necessary. So for us to understand or adopt anything. Um, so anyways, you had asked what's our stance on AI. It is basically impossible for us to algorithmically catch AI. We test the AI tool detector tools all the time. But
Hmm.
as you say, you spot it almost instantly as a reader. And this is one of the things that I think we have to do a better job of helping publications filter um, filter out the authors that are doing AI generated content. So I think where we're going to end up on Medium is there's going to be a lot of AI generated content that nobody reads.
Mm,
And that
yeah,
to us is about as good as we can
that's
hope
fine.
for.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so, I mean, sometimes people ask, like, are we going to ban it? Well, we literally can't ban it, but we can be pretty clear what Medium is about and what we're looking for in the boost. I've only heard in the thousands of stories that we boosted, somebody, I think, got an AI generated poem past a nominator, and that nominator was furious. And
I would be too.
yeah, yeah. Um, the other maybe more more gray area is how do we feel about AI assisted tools? I mean, you could say Grammarly is an AI,
That's
and
the
I've been
example
using
I
that
always
for
give too.
years,
Yeah.
right?
I yeah, I think but there is a difference. You can use AI to improve your grammar where it's just saying like, "Oh, this is a shorter, more concise way."
Yeah,
And oftentimes I disagree with Grammarly when it has little
yeah,
corrections for me and I'm like, "You're wrong. I wanted to use the word absolutely or actually or really here. Stop
right,
telling me off for using too many adverbs." You can use AI to outline stuff. I use AI to outline things. I find it helpful to like, especially for
yeah,
SEO stuff, when I want to make sure that I'm including all the sections that a potential Googler might want to know about when they're Googling, I don't know, how to start writing an
sure,
article or whatever. I think when you start using the text that it gives you, just copy pasting, that's where I draw my line because I hate everything it produces. I have tried to get it to make stuff in a way that I would be happy publishing under my name, and I haven't been. I just I haven't been able to get it to do anything even remotely
right.
close. And yeah, as a reader, I can tell because there's no personality, there's no emotion. It's all like, in this article, we will share 7 ways to blah 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 with
Yeah.
no human expertise, and it shows.
It shows, right? Um, so that's where we are. There's a maybe a more nuanced thing about who's training on the things that you write, and I think that's just something that's like being actively litigated all over the internet right now. And
Yeah.
we think it is our job to try to protect our authors or cut a deal if a deal is available, but um, uh, that's probably too nuanced for the beginner author. But it's part of
I don't
what's on
know.
my mind.
I think for new writers who are writing on the internet, I know many of them are worried about whether AI is going to be allowed to scrape and learn from their hard, unpaid labor. Yeah, so I'd love to hear just if you can, like a one sentence summary of your stance on allowing AI scrapers to train on human medium writing.
There's not a one sentence summary. There's a whole blog post on this.
Which I will link to in the video description.
Okay. It's we think of it as just a basic issue of fairness, right? It's like the whole internet is based on exchange of value. And the way that AI companies have worked is they've trained on content and not given any value back to the people who created content. So it's really natural for those of us who create content to say, no, that's not okay.
Mhm.
And so the main things that we think are important are 3 C's. We call it consent, credit, compensation. And we think that AI companies have to come to the table with something that addresses all 3 of those. So far, it's been easy to say no. Like we've literally blocked OpenAI, and we will block more if we see them because they're offering none of that, essentially. Actually, I mean, to OpenAI's credit, they've made it easy for us to block them. So
Mm,
that's consent, right? To say yes or no, at least we can say no. But we think each author should be able to say yes or no, maybe even at an article level. And
mm,
there's just no protocol for that. But the more important thing, and this is a totally open question to the authors themselves, is how much credit and compensation is required for you to say yes. And the thing I would point out is that for years, we've all said yes to Google just for credit. No money, they just send us traffic, right?
mhm,
And that's kind of the status quo. And I think for the most part, authors want to be read, and it's our job is to find that like maximize the amount of readers and the combination. And so probably if there was significant traffic coming back from these AI companies, I think we would suggest that we all just accept credit only. But right now they're being built in a way where they summarize your content and don't link back to it all, don't send you
mhm,
any traffic. So if they're going to do that, then it's got to be money. But money is hard because it's not that much money. It's like, they're training on billions of pieces of content and, they might be offering pennies. So like, how motivated are you by 3 cents, right? But it could be as a community, we feel like, okay, we'll pull that money, we'll distribute it in the same way we already distribute it. And so maybe, the pool of money at Medium gets 10 or 20% bigger,
mhm.
and that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe. But so far those we turned down one deal. It would have been about a 10% boost in money across Medium. But the as we tested that idea out with the authors, they were so universally against it.
Yeah.
It was a easy no, right? And just so that we're not biased, like our position is we should negotiate on behalf of our authors, but in order for us not to have a conflict of interest, we shouldn't take any of the money beyond costs. Like we're not going to eat the legal costs, but like this isn't a way for us to make money. It's a way to bring more money into the ecosystem. And so that's how we've been approaching it. But as I said, it's something that's been being litigated essentially all across the internet right now.
I will be very interested to see how it all shakes out in a couple of years or whenever these court cases finish. I think what I want to highlight and why I think this, everything you're saying, even if it's not a direct answer, because I don't think there is one right now, it still makes me as an existing writer, A, comfortable continuing to write on Medium, and B, comfortable recommending Medium to new writers, is it's
Yeah,
top of mind. It's something you're thinking about, and not just
yeah,
thinking about, but thinking about what's best for writers on the platform. Doing a lot of due diligence in talking to people on the platform and saying, hey, what do you want? Would this be worth it? Would that be worth it? I don't see Google doing that I know. Well, they have not reached out to me, but I don't see that them doing that with anybody. YouTube's
right.
not doing it as far as I'm aware. Like WordPress, I don't see them even thinking about the question. And I think that's bad business sense. I think that's going to come back to bite them because I think as a writer, I value that so highly, just knowing that it's not just like, oh, let's just wait and see what happens. It's something Medium leadership is thinking, okay, how can we protect our writers? How can we make sure we're giving new and existing writers
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
they want, like whether that's protection, compensation, credit, consent, all of that, which is,
Yeah,
yeah, as a writer, like I said, just great. Also table stakes, but like great. It's nobody else is
yeah.
doing it, but so I'm happy it exists.
I also gave Tony the opportunity to take the floor and tell me exactly what he thought new and existing writers should be doing to be successful on Medium in 2024.
Going back to what you were saying earlier, I would love to give you the floor to talk about for new and existing writers if they want to be successful on Medium, whether that means making money through the Medium Partner Program, or, as I have found, being more successful in using Medium to get access to other opportunities, growing their audience, what would you recommend that those writers do?
Okay. Writers are always coming to me saying, Tony, tell me what to write. It's impossible. There's so many different goals out there, but I want to make sure to open people's eyes to some of the things they might not see. And so the obvious one, which is again why I point to you very often, is the people who make the most money on Medium all get paid a second way. It's because, and this is true across all writing. This is not specific to Medium at all. Writing creates new opportunities, and almost always those new opportunities pay more than the writing itself. So we were talking before we started recording even about like Stephen King.
Mm,
I think Stephen King makes more on movies than he does from the books, and we're talking about one of the most successful writers of all time. So this is true from what I know about Medium authors too, is a lot of them get new business through writing. They like the writing turns into a book, the writing turns into consulting, the writing turns into a portfolio. And so there's something a little subtle in there, which is uh, a lot of great writers have a business, right?
mm,
Because that's what gives them something to write about. You know, it's uh, like a Roger Martin writes about business strategy on Medium, right? Well,
mhm.
what makes his writing good is that he's an active consultant on business strategy. So he's bringing all of these lessons from like 30 or I don't know, it might be a 50-year career.
Wow.
And as a result, customers read his writing and go directly to him. And
Hmm.
I am like positive he makes, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes 1,000 more times on that work than he does for the writing itself. And I think, you know, you do a lot of business as a uh I, I, what would you say, a content create?
I hate the phrase content creator. I don't know of a better one though. Yeah,
Yeah,
content creator. Yeah, I'm comfortable saying I made just over 100,000 last year, and less than a third of that I think was from Medium.
right.
All everything else directly stemmed from Medium though.
From exactly
Um,
right.
Clients that found me on Medium, or clients that
Yep.
I was able to pitch after saying like, "Hey, look what I've done on Medium." The newsletter that I have, products I sell,
Yeah.
consulting like so much, all of it I think comes from Medium. Which is, yeah, I was saying, yeah, or
And
before we
you,
started recording, like I can point to the domino of like it all started with that first blog post on Medium.
right. And you weren't a writer before Medium. So Medium
No,
did
no.
literally launched your career as a writer, but it was not, it's not, um, the whole, like, your whole compensation doesn't come from Medium, and that's just how writing seems to work, right?
Yeah.
And I see this in, in every topic. I think the people that are, well, I'm a programmer originally, and so it's like it's always kind of funny to me when I hear like a programmer say, like, oh, like, I got to get paid more, and then you look and it's like there's like tens or hundreds of dollars. I was like, don't you understand that you're writing about something that if you wrote enough about it, you would look like the world's expert in it, and there's $1 million a year job waiting for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's that, to go back to the hills and mountains, right? It's like that. I just want people to always be aware there's these big opportunities that come from writing well, and it's not just like grinding a living out on Medium. We're not about that. We're not about, we're not, it's not our goal to help people make a living on Medium. It's our goal to reward high quality individual articles, which are maybe not consistent to produce, which is why people end up not making a living that way, right?
Yeah.
But and we're not doing this because we're greedy. We're not doing this to be difficult. We're doing this because that path is so much healthier. It's more fun. It's more what you got into being a writer in the first place for, and it's more lucrative. And it's always going to be more lucrative. And that sort of that grinding, like, I got to turn out something every day, and that's how I'm going to make my living. Well, that's what the AI generated writing is
Yeah.
about to replace.
Yeah.
Like, that is very short lived, the opportunity there. And so just that, I mean, well, since you gave me the floor, that's the thing, the, courage to think bigger, and, or like, to open people's eyes to thinking bigger. I think that's the most important thing to get out there.
It's People ask me also fairly frequently, like, how do I succeed on Medium? And I always give them a really boring answer because I think what they want is probably what I wanted when I started, which was like, and what I got from Instagram: publish at 3 p.m. on Mondays,
Right.
publish every day, publish, like, include 17 hashtags, no more, no less. Like, they want
Right.
buttons to push to go viral. And on Medium, for better, I think that's impossible. You cannot game the system that way. Or if you can, those ways get patched because
Yeah.
the best way to be successful on Medium is to find things that you are interested in writing about, that
Yeah.
you have a unique perspective on. You don't have to be the only
Right.
person in the world to write about it, but you have to have something that nobody else has. Whether that's, like, I used to write a lot about my cats, so I could put in
Yeah.
stories about my cats that nobody else could do because I'm the only person in the world with my cat. I'm looking at my
Yeah.
furry coworker right now. And so you have to find, yeah, something where you'll stand out a little bit because you're the only person who can write about it, that you care about writing about, because if it's not, then why are you even here writing?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the only thing that's even vaguely mechanistic is learning to work with the tools that Medium gives you. For me, that's publications, tags, learning how to write to the booster standards, which goes back to just writing well about things that you know a lot about. It's a more boring answer, but I think, yeah, in the long term, I'm a much happier writer when I stick
Yeah.
to those
Exactly.
rather than trying to, like, push the go viral button.
Yep. Yep. I like what you're saying too. It's like everyone is by definition an expert in their own life. And I think that's part of the incentives of the rest of the internet, is like kind of drew people away from
Mm,
the writing about things they don't know anything about. And
yeah,
and we don't need that. The internet doesn't need more of that. Our subscribers don't need more of that. And it's not healthy for you as a writer. Um, and I think I just, I think it's so great that you could talk to any writer on Medium, and they have some unique story, or their life gives them a perspective on something that, maybe we've heard about 100 times. We've never heard, marketing from the position of the strippers, I think is the story you're saying, right? It's like,
yeah.
okay, great. Like, that's a different perspective. Um, I love that. And I want to affirm people's, like, humanity that way, and rather than teach them how to you know, how to be more robotic. I don't care about that. That sounds like an awful thing to do.
Yeah, and
Um,
now thanks to AI, you will quickly be outcompeted by the actual robots.
yeah, yeah. That I am thankful to AI because now I have like such a firm answer. Because I could say it before and I think people didn't want to believe me, but now it's just like it's pointless.
It's
Uh,
I saw this going in SEO because I learned about SEO to help my website do better. And I found this even then. The only way to price yourself competitively as an SEO writer was always just to lower your price. It was a literal race to the bottom. And it was the same for content mills too. There's always going to
yeah,
be someone who can do what you do for like a tenth of the price.
right.
And yes, I also uh, grateful. I don't know. Do I wish AI was here? I'm happy that it has illustrated my point, which is you have to provide, if you want to succeed as a writer, you
Yeah,
can't just do this kind of formulaic robotic writing because now there are robots who will do it for free or for very cheap at
literally.
least.
Yeah.
Tony also gave me a bird's eye view of Medium financials to illustrate where he expected Medium would be within the next year, 3 years, or 5 years.
The sort of fear I see a lot is this idea that Medium's run by VC money, and at some point that's going to run out. And
It is
yeah,
going to
that
run out.
well, I hope so because then Medium will be profitable and self-sustaining. I don't know. I've got complex feelings about VC economy, but we'll leave those aside for now. Yeah,
Uh,
where do you see Medium going in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, assuming it's still here?
um, we're done with VC money. I think we took our last money in July, and we were pretty clear when we took it that we would be profitable before we ran out, and that has turned out to be true.
Wow.
We expect to be profitable in the next couple months. That profit, I want to be really clear because people who are careful listeners will be like, well, where'd that money come from? That money came from more subscribers. It didn't come from the friend tier. The friend tier money goes straight to the authors. It came from just more subscribers. And we keep growing. We used to not be growing. We actually had a bad period where we were losing subscribers. And that's, again, why I say this thing. There's a big difference between what people will read and what they'll be happy to have paid to read.
Hmm.
We learned that lesson in a very hard way. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did when I got here is pay attention to the finances because the finances are how we answer this question, will Medium stick around? I think it's like everyone wants us to be profitable because then we get to be a place you can rely on for years and years and years. As far as like where we're going, I mean, a thing I tell people in the company all the time is the content is the product,
Mm.
right? Like we can have features and we want features, and especially our tools for publications need to get a lot better. And that's a big focus this year. I think probably, in 2023, the big changes that everyone that impacted everyone were the boost and change in our payment incentives to be more top heavy. Like the better stuff gets paid more now. And
Hmm.
the money just sort of got shifted in that direction. Those are the two biggest changes. I think the biggest change this year is going to be um, probably all serious publications are going to have access to the boost. And so I think you're going to get really niche, really serious publications, get really nice communities around those those publications, and that'll probably feel like kind of a systemic change. I mean, and like a simple example is we're talking about publications, but where do you find them? Right? We don't have a good way to find the publications. We don't have a good way to add yourself as an author to a publication. It's amazing how basic those tools are, given how crucial it is to the business, to the whole system. So that's the biggest change that's coming in the next year. We kind of learned a lesson around August where we made specific promises with dates, and then never again is what I say now. Never put a date on anything. But yes, we do. We are going to open our partner program up to more uh, more countries. I'm sorry for putting a date. I'm sorry for missing the date. And given that, I'm just not going to put a date on it again. It'll launch when it launches. We want to do it.
Yeah.
That's what, so I don't like to look too much beyond the next year other than, you know, like you could look at a topic that's pretty well covered, like marketing, but even in marketing, for a long time, like I didn't think there was enough TikTok marketing.
Mm,
There's starting to be more, but I thought, so like an example of a way that Medium grows is there's a topic that's not well covered, and then suddenly it's well covered. And I don't know if this is the topic we use as a placeholder is geology, which is like, when are the geologists going to come? And I think we use that topic just to mean like, we want Medium to be a place that could deepen your understanding about everything that you could possibly care about. And yeah, that's where we're headed.
That's really great to hear. I was
Yeah.
hoping for a roadmap, but I also understand
Got
why I
burned
can't have a
so
month by
bad.
month.
Oh,
Totally fair.
yep.
And finally, we talked about one of my most exciting features that I've seen Medium release in the last year, which is the friend tier.
Yes.
I did want to quickly talk about the friend tier. So for anybody who's new to Medium and missed this big
Yeah.
update, gosh, November maybe of last year, 2023, Medium released a new payment subscription level where normally you pay $5 a month or $50 a year to get access to unlimited paywalled stories on
Yeah.
Medium and a few other features. Now you have the option of upgrading to a $15 a month payment model, or $150 a year, and you get the, again, unlimited access to paywalled stories and a few other features. The main difference, as far as I understand, is that the extra $10 means that you are rewarding writers more. I'm a very proud friend of Medium. When I read somebody on Medium, I know that my $15 is going more, like more money is going towards them than was previous.
Yeah, it's great. Um, I'm kind of in awe of this. I mean, I know we launched it, but it's like a lot of things, what we launched doesn't really matter unless the community adopts it. So that's the thing that I'm in awe of is you don't get anything for it. It's a giving,
Mm.
tier. It's, I might give $10 more to authors than I was before, right? And it came from research that there was a pretty big group of subscribers who wanted to do more to support authors. And so we thought, well, let's see, like let's make that possible. And it's already been a bump in the pool of money available for authors, and it's got this really interesting dynamic because the friends of Medium are also the most visible people on Medium.
Mm.
So the adoption is what you would expect. It's single digit percentage, right? But if I look in the comments, it's not uncommon to have half the comments be from friends of Medium.
Because those are the most
And
active, like people who have really adopted
yeah,
with Medium and are engaging. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And I mean, it's like, it can be such a competitive world, and I think it's sometimes a petty world, and you know, social media platforms can be very divisive. And just to launch something that's just like a generosity feature and see it embraced makes me so happy to be part of this community. Like literally, it's like I'm in awe that that worked. Go back to that phrase counter narrative. It's like,
Mm.
oh, the internet is so poisonous sometimes. And like, here something beautiful just happened. And, we get to be a part of it. And it just makes me really happy.
It's, as a reader, I like it because it just intensifies what I like about Medium to begin with, which is I get to pay people for writing really cool articles at no effort to myself other than that one like automated
Yeah.
payment. There are tip features. You can subscribe to people individually. You can always go to their website and either scroll on their website and you know that you're giving them ad
Yeah.
revenue or buy a product if they've got one. but it's a really easy, frictionless way to support people's work who I like
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah.
And that's what I've loved about Medium from the beginning. That's such a cool payment model to me. And it's different
Yeah.
from everything else that's all either through ad revenue or it's like from a creator fund. It's just directly reader pays writer.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
Medium is just there to handle the banking details, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like it's that times 3, which is just
Yeah.
great. Or times 4. I don't
Yeah.
know what the official number is, but yeah.
Yeah. The uh times 4 is uh it's actually, I mean, technically it's more than that, but times 4 felt like a thing that we could say and stick to.
Yeah.
The yeah, that was, I mean, it's a really great experience. One of the, I think the most successful thing that we've launched. It's one of those things where I feel like it's not my job to sell it. You know, it's like, because it's either you want that or you don't. And it just turned out a lot of people wanted it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised, I guess, by how positive the reception was in my audience, in my community too. I guess it
right.
shouldn't have surprised me because I think a lot of people have just a lot of goodwill for Medium, and I'm glad to see that that's continuing.
Last but not least, I asked Tony what would he leave the viewers of this video with? What was the last piece of advice that he wanted to impart to them?
Yeah.
All right, I want to start wrapping up here because I have taken a lot of your time, and I'm sure you've got 1,000 other meetings and things to be doing. But yeah, what's the final thing you want to leave potential Medium writers with, or potentially also existing Medium writers? If there's one thing you want to tell them about Medium, the future, what they should be doing, what Medium wants from the writers, what would you tell them?
I don't mean this to be pandering, Zuli, but there's this ecosystem of people on Medium already who are here to try to help other writers. And it's almost like, I think your advice often lands, and you're one of them. That's the pandering. Your advice often lands better than mine because you're closer to them. You're more specific to their experience. Like, and I would just, and it, like, that's the whole theme. It's like, find the people that are trying to help you already. Um, I know we were talking about Facebook groups not to join, but there's also Facebook groups that are there to support you.
Yeah.
There's the publications are there to support you. Um, and that's where I would start as a writer is find people that you can learn from that can help you kind of ladder your way up into whatever medium is going to be for you. And so you know, in a way, like the way that we view or I view coming to talk to you, Zuli, is that like I'm here to answer your questions so that you like the things that you're already doing are more like you know as informed as they can be because I think you end up carrying the message in such a beautiful and helpful way to other new authors. So just you know from want to say we really appreciate you.
I live for flattery and external validation, so I will allow this one instance of pandering. No, that's great to hear. Yeah, I try really hard to give the advice that I wish I'd had when I started because I did waste a lot of time like trying to game
Yeah.
engagement. And the beautiful thing is that you can't and you shouldn't, and you should focus on writing amazing
Yeah.
stuff. So I will end by answering my own question of whether Medium is worth it in 2024 for new and existing writers. And I think it depends on you, the person watching this. If you're the kind of writer who is okay focusing on quality, learning to work with Medium, building an audience, knowing that there isn't a best time to publish on Medium. There's no single ideal set of tags that you should use. There's just you and the story that you have to tell, and Medium is the right place for you if you are excited about sharing that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my sign off. Anything to add,
I
Tony?
love it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this. If you've got any questions, you can always at Tony in the comments, and you can you can leave any comments in my my YouTube comments. I try to answer them about once a week. Have a great rest of your week and the rest of your year, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.
All right.